Hey everybody, this is JD. I just want to give you a heads up real quick. I'm just getting over some throat garbage. Side note, if you have sleep apnea and you use a CPAP machine, when they tell you to make sure you change out your air filters on a regular basis, they definitely mean on a pretty solid schedule. Anyway, I just want to apologize. I got a little bit carried away with my coughing in this episode. I tried to keep the microphone away and turn it off as often as possible, but I'm not the quickest with the mute button. Anyway, just wanted to apologize in advance to you if there's a little bit of coughing in the background on this. I especially want to apologize to Michelle for coughing in her ear, and this has clearly gone on way longer than it needed to, but I'm an anxious weirdo. Let's listen to the episode, shall we? Here you go. Well, hello everybody, and welcome to another episode of We Watch Shudder. My name's JD. Who's here with me?
I think it's Michelle, but I can't see you, so I'm not positive if we are
You
recording
can't
together.
you can't see me, so you're not sure that you are you.
Well, I know I'm me. I don't know if I'm the one recording with you because I can't see you. So who are you? I have no proof. You could be anybody.
So this is our podcast, guys. Yeah, we're having some
Yeah.
technical difficulties. Normally Michelle and I do this by a video call. Today we're doing it by just an audio call because, well, technology sucks. Is that
Yeah.
about the sum of it, Michelle?
Yeah, this is our new episode where we slam technology.
Yeah.
Fuck you,
yeah. Fuck
internet.
technology. You only
Yeah.
gave us everything we needed to be able to do this thing that we love. Fuck you.
But you also made it so I read less books and pay like $100 for streaming services every month. So thanks.
Fuck off, technology.
Yeah, but I do have access to every bit of information I could ever want and then some, and so much content that I will never be able to consume in a lifetime. But fuck you anyway, technology.
Right, yeah, fuck off, but I love you also, yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. Well, now that
this your
we've,
first, yeah. If this is your first time tuning in, thank you for checking out the show. It's called We Watch Shudder because that's what we do. We watch movies on Shudder. We also watch movies that aren't on Shudder because, sometimes you just gotta expand your horizons a little bit. Today we're talking about a movie that was not released by Shudder. In fact, it was released, I believe, all the way back in 1982. But you can, I also believe, right now watch it on Shudder. Michelle, what are we talking about?
we watched Pieces. Mil Gritos Tiene la Noche.
The night has 1,000 screams.
Yep. Yep.
Pieces.
Pieces.
Millions of pieces. Pieces for me.
Is that
I
because
thought
they
to do
accidentally
that
said
because
peaches
yes,
when we,
yes.
yeah.
See, before we started recording, Michelle accidentally called this movie Peaches instead of Pieces, and then I was immediately like, "Well, I got to make that real kind of lame joke." But yes, 1982 horror. I don't know. Some would say classic. I guess we're gonna find out what our thoughts on it are. Pieces, a Spanish-American co-production. I feel like this was American money and Spanish production. Did you get that same kind of vibe, Michelle?
If that's what we want to call it, yes. I
All
had a
right.
very hard time trying to figure out if it was dubbed at first.
I'm we'll talk about a little of that when we get
Yeah.
into this here. Do you want to read for these good folks the summary from Shudder or maybe from IMDb? Which one looks the best to you?
I'll just do the one on IMDb because I watched it on Peacock. I did not know it was on Shudder. That's
Okay.
what popped up when I looked it up. So I've got IMDb open.
I'm not sure if it's
So,
there yet, but it's going to be dropping sometime soon on Shudder.
yeah, I think it drops like today, but we watched it a day ahead of. But technically, it dropped however many years ago, 42 years ago. So
1982.
great year.
I don't know why I said it with that voice, but I did. So here we are.
This is what we do when we have to record the episode at 1 a.m. Things get a little weird, and then technology doesn't work. So, according to IMDb, the co-eds of a Boston college campus are targeted by a mysterious killer who is creating a human jigsaw puzzle from their body parts. Pieces. 1982. Not rated. An hour. 25 minutes.
Pieces. 1 hour 25
The
minutes.
full thing is also on
1982.
YouTube. So if you have
Okay.
access to nothing else, there's a lower quality version on YouTube. So
Oh, you
everybody
can
go
watch this
it.
on YouTube, huh?
You can. I don't know if it's edited. I just saw it in search results. So just so you know.
You know, I may be completely wrong because I don't see anything in this thing I just looked at real quickly to see. I thought Pieces was going to be dropping here. Maybe it's next month. I don't know. Anyway, it doesn't matter. It's easy to find on the interwebs. Pieces.
Yeah. With
Michelle.
technology that I hope you didn't use to listen to our podcast. I hope you got on cassette via
Right.
the postal service.
Right. Because
Right.
Lord knows cars and trucks are not technology. Anyway,
Wow.
Michelle.
Yeah.
A couple standard run-of-the-mill questions for you here. Have you ever seen Pieces before we watched it for this episode?
No, I had not.
Were you aware of Pieces before we watched it for this episode? What level of awareness did you have past I knew there was a movie called Pieces?
I will say I had very limited awareness of this film and that what I thought I knew about it was wrong, which I will get into in my review.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
do you want to give us your spoiler-free thoughts on Pieces
Yes.
from 1982?
Yes, I do. Okay. Imagine that there's a movie you have never seen before, but you keep seeing pop up in comments about people's favorite horror film, and they keep comparing it to one of your other favorite horror films, and you go, sweet, I bet it's going to be like that other horror film. And the two films are Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Pieces. So then you watch Pieces, and it is not Texas Chainsaw Massacre at all. And then it's really disappointing. I think I was set up to fail because even the IMDb photo says that it's you don't have to go to Texas for a chainsaw massacre. That is not what this movie is. I was way too hyped for it. It is one of those like so bad it's good kind of things, but I was so disappointed that I didn't get to the it's good part until like way far into the movie. This is one I will have to revisit. I'm going to have to palate cleanse, and then now that I know what it's all about, I need to go watch it again. Because there's definitely gonna be stuff that I do enjoy in a so bad it's good kind of way. Uh I mean, if we were rating this as like taking it very seriously, which is what I thought I was supposed to be doing, it would be like a 1.5 on a first view, but I'm hoping to revisit it and increase that score later. So I'm going to go with a 1.5, but I know it's going to be higher now that I understand what I'm supposed to be watching, because it is not what I was led to believe that I would be watching. So 1.5 out of 5. Yep.
Okay, no, that's fair. You know, we're talking about your experience here. So you mentioned in there that now you understand. First of all, I have to say, yes, absolutely. And we'll talk about it more in depth when we get into the spoiler section. But I find it not at all surprising, based on the marketing that was done for this movie, that you got a different impression of what it was going to be. It's interesting to me that you said people often compare it to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and you're absolutely right. The promo image definitely refers to Texas Chainsaw Massacre. The movie I always try to compare it to is Sleepaway Camp in a lot of ways. But what's interesting to me, maybe I should just tell you, I love this movie. I've seen it twice now.
I figured you did.
I've seen it twice now. The first time I saw it, I thought it was all right. I didn't know about it. This is one that I didn't even have any awareness of. I had seen it, on the video shelf. I had seen it in streaming libraries, but I had never heard of it. I didn't know anything about it. And then I think I first heard about it in one of those In Search of Darkness documentaries. And I was like, okay, I got to go see what this is all about. And I liked it the first time. But this second time that we sat down to sit through and watch this, I really, really enjoy this movie. And I will definitely tell you why. This is a Four Skull movie for me.
Nice. Nice. Yeah, I think I'm definitely going to be more positive about it now that I know. But I knew nothing except people kept saying like, "Oh, there's this lesser known film like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre." And also I'm not a fan of giallo films, and this is very much giallo-y.
Oh, yes. Yes. We'll
And
talk about that.
so I was like, "Oh no, I was so hyped and now I'm so sad." So, but then
Yeah,
I
if
watched
you.
the
If.
Taylor Swift Eras tour and I was immediately in a way better mood. Three and a
Oh,
half
God.
hours? Hell yeah,
Taylor
give it to me.
Swift.
She did. It was excellent.
I
It's
got
on
a
Disney
blank
Plus. Go check it
space,
out, Swifties.
Michelle, and I'll write your name.
It's
So
yeah,
okay.
it's great. I
Uh,
hope so. I love Death Note.
no, so I guess maybe to give a little bit more specifics here, this movie definitely has its limitations, and it is of an era and a place. But this is a story and a screenplay that I really, really think is better than you might initially think. There's a lot of really interesting stuff going on here. I really, really, really enjoy this movie, and I hope some of you legitimately are going to go check it out before we get into the spoilers, which is what we're going to do right now. And this part, I'm always excited about it, but yet again, I'm excited about it for all sorts of reasons today. Michelle,
Oh no.
might I
Yeah.
ask, please,
Yep.
Michelle,
Yep.
would you summarize for these good people the story of
Ah.
The Night Has a Thousand Screams, aka
Yeah.
Pieces?
You know, one of these days I'm going to learn that I should probably take notes, but I never think of like what should probably be in a summary until
Do
right
not
when you have.
ever take notes, Michelle. It has to
I
be
know.
just
Okay.
impromptu off the top of your head. That's how it's good.
Okay. So pieces summarized. There's a little boy, and back in the 80s, I guess the only way to look at porn was to put together a jigsaw puzzle, and I appreciate that you have to work for
1942,
what you want.
Michelle. I'm sorry, I
Okay,
don't mean to
it was,
interrupt.
I know the movie
1942.
was 1982. I knew it happened in the past for reasons we'll get to. So there's this little boy, he's putting together a jigsaw puzzle, and his mom doesn't like that, and she compares him to her father, so he axes her to death. And then the jigsaw puzzle is covered in blood. And now we're forward in time and we're at a college campus and everyone's just fucking everybody there. And then at one point, I think this happens after we've established that everybody's very slutty in the best way. There's a woman and she's skateboarding, and then there are two men carrying a mirror, like you normally do, no spotters, and she goes crashing through the mirror. And then we see this image of the mother who fell into the mirror after being axed, and so now there's a connection of the killer's being reawakened because now he's thinking of his mother. He starts putting together the jigsaw again. Even though I do jigsaw puzzles and that's not many pieces and it looks very simple. So the fact that he's still working on it 40 years later just like kind of shows his intelligence level, and his level of cunning is not good to be able to pull off the kills that he does later. Speaking of the kills, everybody's fucking. He keeps showing up and killing them. There's one lady, she's like, hey, we should bone in the pool, which, by the way, do not do that. Uh, if you have P and V intercourse, it can shove air bubbles into the vagina and it can cause an aneurysm. Fun fact, don't do that. Also, chlorine dries you out. Don't do it. And this guy who's in charge of all the chainsawing, he knows you're not supposed to do that, so he puts a stop to it and kills the lady. And then he kills a lady in an elevator, but he doesn't kill her. He just chops her arms off, and then she's put on a stretcher with the sheet over her face. But then they say that she's still alive, but then she is dead. There is at one point a guy doing karate shows up. I I don't know why. Then there is a undercover police detective who is a was she a tennis player? A tennis player? Something? Yeah, tennis sounds right. So she's a tennis player, and I guess she's on the police force now. But like the head of the police force doesn't trust her to be on the police force. So he tells one of the students who's like one of the slutty guys, he tells him like, "Hey, can you keep an eye on this broad?" And like that's just super condescending. And then there's like two more kills. One lady gets killed in the park in broad daylight, and like kudos for him being brave. And I think there's one more, and then the lady detective, and I'm saying that in the most ironic sense, because everybody's like, "Oh, you're a lady detective. You're not a real detective." But no, it's because she's a tennis player. She's not even a detective. You just like put her undercover despite being a recognizable figure. So she goes to investigate, and the head of the school, or the dean, I think he's called the dean, he's talking to the lady, and then he drugs her drink, and that's how we find out that she's or he's the boy from the beginning. He's the one putting together this jigsaw puzzle and doing all this hacking apart people, and then she can't move. And one of my favorite parts is I think his name's like Marcus, something like that. He is like, "Come on, get up and stand." And she's like, "Ah," and he's like, "See, it's not that hard." And she's like, "Ah," like just paralyzed. And he's like, "See, you can do it. It's not a matter of will, it's a matter of physical capability. She has been drugged. How do you not understand this?" And then the dean who's been killing everybody, he just gets shot in the face, and that's a little disappointing. And then they finally find the missing body parts from these people, because I forgot to mention there are parts missing. There are literally pieces missing. And now they are a full woman, kind of, or many women, but just parts of them. And they're in a closet. He's been rebuilding a lady just like he was rebuilding the naked lady from the jigsaw puzzle. Get it? It's a big reveal. And then you think like that's the end of the movie, but then the corpse that is made of many different parts is alive and reaches up and grabs the dude's dick and is ripping through his jeans, and it's all bloody, and then it's the credits rolling. I don't even know if he died or if he just wishes he was dead. Pieces. Pieces. I'm surprised how much I remembered because
Oh, it helps to
there's a
remember to turn
lot.
the microphone on if you want to keep recording your audio.
Oh
Yeah, that's
no.
no, it's okay, Michelle. I just cut it off. I realized while I was laughing there that I hadn't turned it back on, so it just cut back on in the middle of my laugh.
Oh, okay.
But
Sinister.
yeah, that's pieces. Michelle, so here's what I want to ask right away. You said something there towards the end of your spoiler-free section where you were like, I thought this was supposed to be like a serious, heavy horror movie, but now that I know what it's supposed to be, I think I'll be able to appreciate it more. Uh, do you think this is meant to be like a comedy or a lighter or weirder horror movie?
I think this is a Winter Beast situation where they
Really?
genuinely tried to make a movie, but that the rest of us are like, this is not what you intended, but we will enjoy it for what it is.
Wow. I see
Do you?
I really like the movie has its limitations, right?
Hmm.
But for me like and I guess this maybe makes sense considering we do know that you are not the biggest fan of like especially giallo and a lot of that sort of European, I think what people would call Euro trash horror, that sort of vibe where first of all I agree with you, you know, I those movies where all of the audio is dubbed for whatever reason, like even the people who probably could speak English still had to dub their dialogue. It's whatever, it has a weird feel, but to me like so I guess maybe it's because I've seen it twice now or what, but this second time I was watching this, I was thinking about it a little more abstractly, and I think this is a really intense, or could be a really intense horror movie. I have a lot of
Okay.
things that I wanna say about it. So why don't you tell us first of all, it is really unfortunate that you got the idea, and this is a problem with a lot of movies in this era, right? Because this is, they
Mm-hmm.
call it an American Spanish co production. And I don't know how heavily co produced it was, or if it was a Spanish thing and then some American people bought it. They changed the name to Pieces, which is still, I mean, it does still relate to the movie, but it's a more exploitation kind of title. They go with
Mm-hmm.
that comparison to Texas Chainsaw Massacre for no other reason than because there's a chainsaw. The irony, of course, being that this movie has way more fucking blood and guts and splatter than the Texas Chainsaw Massacre ever
Mm-hmm.
had.
Mm-hmm.
Which is interesting because that movie, we're going to talk about that here in a bit. But um, so I guess, I don't know, tell us about then what your experience with this movie was, and what it was like kind of adjusting to figuring out what the fuck was going on.
Yeah, so this one, I don't know if other people got word that it's going to be dropping on Shutter or something, but I'm a part of a lot of different Reddit, like subreddits and some Facebook groups just with horror fans. And I get a lot of really good recommendations for movies that I've never heard of from there. And Pieces is one that kept popping up in the last month or two of people. And I don't know if maybe somebody saw it and then somebody else posted about it after they watched it a week later. And because of the algorithm, it just kept popping up. But I felt like I got bombarded with people mentioning Pieces, and I'd never heard of it before. And people kept, and here's the thing is I like to know minimum of a movie if I think I'm going to watch it. If I'm sure I'm going to watch it, I'm not like, I will just add it to my list. Do not even tell me the tagline. But in this, I would just read like a very brief, like, oh man, I watched Pieces. The chainsaw kills are so good. I'm like, okay, that's it. I don't want to read the thread. So I don't know if there was more stuff about like how silly it gets to be at parts, and how like more of what the tone of it is. Um, so I went into it expecting one of my favorite movies, even though I know that's not possible, but that set the bar so high. And then from that opening sequence with the mother screaming at her kid for putting together a naked jigsaw puzzle and comparing him to his father, I was like, oh, okay, this is not going to be what I thought it was. It is going to be more giallo style. I didn't even know it was American European. I knew nothing. I didn't know that it was of a different title originally. I just knew Pieces. Put it on your list. Here's where it's streaming. So it took me a second to be like, oh, okay. And something about that first scene, I went, well, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, but I'm intrigued, and I wasn't like turned off from it or anything. It was when they got to the college, some of the dialogue actually made me laugh in a way that I don't think I was intended to. Or maybe I was, but that's when I was like, oh man, I never would have laughed if this was the type of horror that I thought it was getting into. The one girl, the line where I started going, okay, okay, now I know what's happening, was the girl on campus who said something like the best thing in the world is smoking pot and fucking on a waterbed. And that lady needs better experiences in her life, because I can't imagine. My mom had a waterbed. I know what they're like. I can't imagine sex on that thing would be great. And especially while you're simultaneously smoking weed, that just sounds like an extra hassle, like that you don't need to go through. So then I was in my head about that and completely missed a bunch of plot points. So
Quick
yeah.
side note, Michelle. I don't know
Yeah.
if you knew this, but
No.
there was a time in this country where there were stores in parts of the country that were waterbeds and more. And as I
Okay.
understand it, the and more was like head shop stuff and sex toys.
What?
Yeah, waterbeds
Man,
were like a big, like, hippie fucking thing, apparently. I was just as surprised as you are.
that is wild. And
I
I'm both
know.
surprised and not surprised, because there's going to be stuff that get people's rocks off that but like all I have in my head is the sound of my mother's queen size waterbed and the slapping sound it would make if you even tried to sit on it to get comfortable. Like, I trying
Oh,
to
yeah, my
explain to
parents had one
people.
too, and that's creepy as shit.
Yeah, and oh god, yeah, you're right. Now that we're talking about in this context, and I am the oldest of 5, so that waterbed got used. Um, but trying to even explain to people that waterbeds were a thing is it makes no fucking sense. They're like, "Why would you sleep on water?" Who knows? But I went on a tangent in my head about waterbeds, and now I'm doing it again. So I just fixate on that a lot, and that's what kind of kept happening through the movie. Somebody would do something really weird, like the karate guy shows up. I don't know why. I still don't know why. I don't know if I missed it or if it's just never explained. But then all I could think about was the crow, and then I was down that rabbit hole. I just kept like getting fixated on very bizarre things that happen, and then getting in my head about it. It was a weird experience.
Yeah, I could definitely understand that. Like I said, if you thought this was going to be something else completely going in, how that would really throw off your experience. Um, so I don't disagree with you. Like, this movie definitely has its limitations, right? It's a very low budget independent production, made in Spain, even though it takes place supposedly in Boston. Um, I don't know if any of the actors spoke English. Even if they did, they dubbed all the dialogue. It has a lot of that really sort of like Hammer horror, just that 70s Euro trash horror kind of vibe that Dario Argento, Mario Bava just kind of thing. Interestingly enough, Michelle, one of the people who worked on the screenplay for this film also worked on the English language dub of a movie called Cannibal Man that we did way back in like our
Uh,
7th or 8th episode of the show. A
Another movie I
movie
didn't like.
and a movie that I really enjoyed. It has that
Yeah.
look, that very Euro trash horror look. But here's what I want you to do, Michelle. And you're right. Some of the dialogue is absurd. The idea of this guy being like the campus Lothario, and there's that whole sequence towards the end where this lady is just enraptured by the mere presence of this guy's hog. Which, by the way, you get full side pipe photo in this
Oh yeah, I
film
should have mentioned
of
that. There was
the
full on
dude.
dick.
Yeah,
Congrats.
just complete uncircumcised side pipe. I know more
Love it.
about this dude's dick than I ever needed to know. But
I have
um,
questions. I need to see it again.
but first of all, even though they are very low budget, very cheesy, like there is some intense splatter in this. There's the lady that gets cut in half at the waist, and she's just laying there in the elevator or whatever with her innards all splattered out underneath her. There's that whole sequence where the lady's getting stabbed in that little like bath or pool, and it's getting all red with her blood. Here's what I want you to do, Michelle. If you do watch this again, I am shocked that this, of all the early 80s horror movies, has not been remade. I want you to watch this. I want you to try to get away from the details and think about it more abstractly and conceptually, and just think about this movie as a gritty, like the same story here, not like but more in tone, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or not even that, like a gritty, almost like Seven or Silence of the Lambs, that gritty crime thriller that crosses over into the horror space because it's really brutal and violent. Like this movie, when you stop to think about it, like this was in 1982, right on the edge of when like criminal profiling was becoming a more publicly aware thing, and that whole idea of like a person being influenced by repressed sexuality through a female power figure in childhood, leading to serial killer type. Like that's all legit stuff, right? Like, this is a really early example of a movie starting to play in that world. And I want you to just think about it as, like I said, more of like a David Fincher, like think about the grit and tone of Seven while you're watching this, with maybe a little bit of the intense violence and gore of like a Saw or a Hostel or something. I would love to see this movie redone with more of a grit tone like that. I think it would be fantastic. But I love this movie conceptually. I think it's a good story. I love that moment right at the end where the reassembled corpse falls out of the wall just out of fucking nowhere. I wanted to mention so badly a couple of weeks ago when we were talking about another movie that has a surprise body horror type ending. I wanted to mention this then, but I was like, no, we're going to be talking about Pieces in a couple of weeks, and I know you know what I'm talking about, but I don't want to, spoil it here. But I love how it just hits. Now, I do agree with you. The last bit where all of a sudden the reassembled corpse comes alive and mutilates this guy's genitalia, I don't know what that is. That feels to me very much like we're trying to do like the Brian De Palma end of Carrie, Sean Cunningham end of Friday the 13th, just kind of sudden surprise and be real aggressive with it. That I feel like you could have done without.
Well, so your advice to me is watch this movie and pretend it was a different movie.
No, Michelle.
I know what you're
my
saying.
advice is just watch the movie and think about it more conceptually. Try not to look at the details, because it is absurd. The dialogue is ridiculous. The former tennis pro who's now a criminal detective, and this dude Kendall recognizes her immediately when he goes to the cop shop, but then she just goes off to be the tennis coach at this school, and nobody recognizes her as a tennis coach being former tennis pro whoever. Give me a break.
See, it was pre-technology. That's another thing technology ruined. We all know who celebrities are now. I was reminded of an anecdote that I've never been able to tell somebody before. It's never come up in conversation. But I think I had an opposite experience where I saw the gritty version of something and then I watched the real movie. And that was Tommy Wiseau's The Room. Back when I was playing a lot of Newgrounds games, they had on their front page that they made The Room as like a kind of SNES style retro game. And I played it and it was very gritty and I loved it. And then I watched Tommy Wiseau's The Room. And that's like the opposite of what you're telling me to do. And I've never been able to tell anybody about that before because that's never been a thing that came up in conversation. Like, oh yeah, I experienced this really famous, hilarious movie as a video game first.
Well, fine, Michelle. Somebody. Yes.
I know. I had to tell someone. That's been in my brain forever.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is definitely a specific flavor profile, right? It's seasoned a specific kind of way. And if you don't really go in for that 70s, early 80s European giallo sort of vibe, and this is very much a giallo film, except this is giallo where instead of a knife, we've replaced the knife with a fucking chainsaw. But this has giallo hallmarks all over it. This could be a fucking Mario Bava or Dario Argento film, the same way Eloy de la Iglesia's Cannibal Man, which, by the way, you can, I believe, still see on Shudder. If you can't, I think you can find it easily anywhere. Go see
Plex,
it.
Roku,
I love
Toby,
that
or
movie.
Yep.
Yeah, if you like Eurotrash giallo type horror, go see Cannibal Man, and also see Pieces. So no, I definitely understand all of the hangups you have with this, but I was just somehow able to get out of this one and just appreciate it on more of a conceptual level. And I do think some of the splatter was pretty decent considering they probably didn't have a whole lot of money or budget to work with. I said money or budget, like those are two different things.
I am one of the things that I never wind up liking about these movies and takes me out is they say like they're so gory, but I just hate the way that they do practical effects. And it is specifically the neon blood, like the way too bright red blood. And I think if even that was changed, I would immediately have way more interesting gory scenes from this kind of
Michelle,
thing. What?
since the dawn of Eurotrash murder horror,
I know.
that has been a game breaker for so many people, a deal
Yep.
breaker rather for so and we know that at this point, right? You're far from the only one. Again, this is a specific kind of seasoning. This is a very specific flavor palette. Some people they just can't wrap their taste buds around curry, and that's fine. It's not a judgment. There's shit that I don't like eating either. But man, for those of us who really enjoy this kind of thing when it's done well, this is just so good. I loved it.
I wish I was the type of person who loved this kind of movie because there are so many films out there in this style that you love and that I know many other people love. Like we've had people who keep telling us to watch Fulci's trilogy, and I've seen two of them now. We haven't done them for the podcast. I think Aaron Myers said he would give us $10 each if we watched.
Are
So
you watching them in order?
I didn't know there was an order. I've just been grabbing like what's in front of me. So I'm watching them just in completely random. Like this one is
Okay,
top of
so
my list.
which ones have you seen, Michelle?
The painting one.
Of course, there's an order. They weren't all just released simultaneously. You goon.
Well, I guess that makes sense. I watched Saw completely out of order in October. I don't care. Rules are
Do
meant to be
you
broken.
do you at least remember the titles?
Yeah, so The Beyond, which I had seen before,
Okay.
so I watched that one again. And then I watched City of the Living Dead, according to my movie log.
Did you watch them in that order?
Yes.
So you watched The Beyond, and then you watched City of the Living Dead.
Yes, because I'd seen The Beyond
And-
before. It wasn't going to be new to me.
Okay. And so what's the other one that you need to see then? Do you remember what it's called?
Yes, The House by the Cemetery.
The House by the Cemetery. Well, here's what I have to say. At least you saved the last one for last. But
What
City
else
of the
would the
Living
last
Dead
one
is the
be?
first one.
What if I saved the last one for second? What would
No,
there
what
be
I'm saying
then?
is what I'm saying, Michelle, is that City of the Living Dead is the first one.
I know.
The Beyond
I
is
get
the
it.
second one, and the House by.
Okay, I
Look, you're
saved
right.
the
It
last
doesn't matter.
trilogy. Yeah.
They're not even a trilogy. I don't know. It's always been weird to me that I was just being Captain Pedantic. It's always been
Pedantic.
weird.
I've been using that all over the place lately.
It's been so weird to me that people talk about these movies as a trilogy because they're barely connected at all. They have some similar themes, some similar effects, some related ideas, but they are not a continuous story. This is almost more of like, I guess you could call it an anthology trilogy, maybe. But so no, it doesn't matter what order you watch
Wow.
them in.
Okay. Thanks for
the Beyond
beating
is
me
the
shit.
best one, by the way.
Making
The
me
Beyond is the best one.
yeah, and that's the one that you had me watch ages ago. So then when Aaron kept saying watch the trilogy, I put it on, and this is why I now keep a movie log because I was like, I can't tell if I've seen this before, and I didn't figure out like how until halfway through, like, oh yeah, I've definitely seen this before, and I'm tired of that happening. So now I have a movie log so I can control F and find all the movies that I've seen because there's hundreds on the list
Excellent.
just since October, and I have saved myself some trouble because it's on the movie log, and it also helps me remember. So yay. My life is a series of
Michelle,
spreadsheets. I had an epiphany today. I'm excited for a therapy episode in the future. Oh,
awesome,
yes.
awesome.
Yes.
So I don't have much else to say about Pieces. Do you?
I have a lot to say about Taylor Swift the Eras tour. It was great. It was so good. I had way more to say about that than I do about Pieces.
Oh, Tay.
It was
Anyway,
3.5 hours, and yet it didn't feel like it. I was jamming out. I thought it was just going to be background noise. I started it and I was like, oh man, this is going to be an endurance test. How am I going to watch something longer than Dune 2? Yeah, it's great. It's awesome. It's so good. If you're a Swiftie, it's good. And I don't even think I'm Swiftie. I think I'm a I enjoy her music kind of lady. But goddamn, that was a great concert.
fair enough. Michelle,
Not your
not
kind
to
of music,
suddenly
JD.
change the. No, it's not my vibe, but I ain't got nothing against Tay Tay.
Yeah.
Michelle,
Yeah.
10 sleeps. 10
Oh,
sleeps
late night with the devil.
until late night with the devil. We're going to guys. When I saw that we were going to be able to see Late Night with the Devil theatrically, I very nearly shit my pants. It's I've been so excited about the hype has just been through the roof, and I'm a guy who deliberately kind of tries to avoid the hype, whereas Michelle is following the news on a regular basis. I kind of try to avoid it, and here's part of my theory on that is even though I try to avoid it, eventually, sooner or later, something gets hyped so much that even though I'm trying to avoid it, I can't get away from it.
That is Late Night
And
at the Devil. People will not
yeah,
stop talking about it.
That's this movie, and I am so fucking excited, guys. It's also dropping on Shudder in April. We'll talk about it then. We're probably going to talk about it after we go see it in the theater because who knows, we're not going to be able to wait, are we?
Probably not. And we will also have the famous Jenna, who did not watch the movie Jenna with us. And now we can say with confidence that she will have watched the movie before listening to the episode because she'll
be there with us to watch the movie. I'm going to sit there and be like, do not close your eyes for a second. I'm not going to watch the movie because I'm going to make sure Jenna watches the movie.
Watch Jenna not watching the movie. We went to Imaginary
That's gonna
last
get
night.
real creepy for her.
Yeah, I'm
with
one
me
of
just
us
sitting
on
there
either
watching
side.
her
Yeah.
watching the
You're
movie.
like, we missed the whole
Give her a
movie.
little-
We were watching Jenna not
just
watch it.
I don't know, or give her like a little Michael Myers sideways head tilt, a little
Clockwork
shit like that. It'd
Oranging
be
her.
great.
So she and I went to see Imaginary last night, and I'm so mad we didn't get a selfie because she and I are convinced that people don't think she's real. And I was like, we could have gotten a selfie for the page because we went to see Imaginary. And so that's the thing. Late Night with the Devil. We have to get a picture with Jenna to prove she's a real person. She's not
Wait.
just me.
Are you saying that there are people who think Jenna is just somebody that we made up, or are you telling me that Jenna is worried that people think that she is a person that we just made up?
More of the second one. Jenna put it in my head, like people probably don't think I'm real. And now we're like, oh man, people probably don't think you're real. It's also how Jennaphile has got on. It's just one of those thoughts.
So fine, Michelle. In what sense then would taking a photo matter? Because somebody could just be like that. How do I know that's Jenna? It's just a person. I don't know.
Okay, I guess we won't selfie with Jenna. Sorry, Jenna. If you've made it this far, we're not allowed to take a selfie. You're not real.
I'm not. Jesus, I'm not
how
saying
do
don't
I even
selfie
know?
with Jenna.
How do I know
exactly.
she's real?
How do you know? How do you know she's Jenna?
I've met a lady who has introduced herself as Jenna, but is that even her real name?
Have you ever seen her paycheck or her tax papers or anything
I've never
like
even
that?
seen that bitch's ID.
Right?
I want government issued documents.
You don't know, man. You just don't know.
Oh,
You just don't know.
We have
Can't trust anybody these days. Sorry, Jenna, you can't come to the movie. You must stop listening to our podcast because you're not a real person.
I have already I've been in my conspiracy theory mindset since watching the Taylor Swift tour because I love watching for things that people consider Illuminati. So I was already in like my, ooh, look at that. Are they doing that on purpose? What is this? What are people gonna freak out about? I love reading people's unhinged blogs about
Well,
Illuminati
I mean,
symbols and music
look, we
videos.
all know,
And now I have my
Michelle,
own theory.
we all know that Ice Spice is a well-known to everybody, incredibly heavy and involved Satanist,
Yeah.
and she's Taylor Swift's best friend. So
Yeah.
you know,
And Taylor Swift is Anton LaVey's nephew or something, grandson.
you need me to spoon feed the facts to you. I guess.
I know them all. Don't get me started on the Taylor Swift is secretly a lesbian thing because that's my favorite one. I am so into Taylor Swift dating Lizzo.
Wait, all the wild theories about how like Taylor Swift is like a government psyop to get people to vote for Joe Biden or whatever, and you think the best conspiracies about her is about how she's actually a lesbian?
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
I just love my gay people. I love them.
Some people,
and if Taylor Swift becomes
like
one of
curry,
them, great.
Some people don't. I get it.
Listen, I'm so sick of running as fast as I can, wondering if I'd get there quicker if I was a man. Great lyric.
That's fair.
Great lyric. Okay.
Michelle, what's the next episode?
Tomorrow we actually have a double feature that I am glad you reminded me of because you went, I'm not going to be able to record that tonight. And I went, I've never seen those movies in my life. So thank you for the reminder that we have an episode going out tomorrow and that I have to watch 2 movies. We are doing a double feature of Leprechaun from 1993 and Leprechaun Returns from 2018. I have seen neither of these. I know basically nothing outside of the title. So this is gonna be something. Is it gonna be an experience?
Yeah.
I hope so. It's definitely gonna be 2 movies, or at least footage that runs for the length of 2 movies on average, or at least what used to be average. Now that all the fucking movies are 3 hours, stop it. I have other things to do. Give me a movie. Give me 2 movies for 3 hours. Give me 1 movie that's an hour and 30 minutes. Knock that shit off. Stop it. Dune 2, not even bad. I was falling asleep because it's so much longer than I thought it was. And it's also very soothing. Long shots of the desert with soothing music that goes on way too long. Cut all that shit out. I was falling asleep. Stop it. Make your movies shorter.
I am so glad that my not every fucking movie needs to be 2 hours plus long philosophy is starting to catch on.
I would like to make a cliff note, not cliff note, like a what's it? It deviates from
caveat.
The norm. Caveat. Thank you. I could not think of the word. I would like to make a caveat that movies need to stop being that fucking long unless they are Taylor Swift concerts. That's the exception. So if Taylor Swift is longer than Dune, great, no problem. But anybody else, fuck off.
Fair enough.
Fair enough. Okay, I got nothing else to say. I had so much Taylor Swift on the brain because I had to watch it as a palate cleanser after fucking Kisses.
Well, yeah, I do want to say that. So Leprechaun, obviously classic, St. Patrick's Day affiliated horror film, and then we chose Leprechaun Returns for 2 reasons. I chose, but I chose for good reasons.
Yeah.
It's because, first of all, Leprechaun Returns from 2018 is one of those completely ignores all the rest of the franchise and just acts as a direct sequel to the original film type of movies, right? Mm-hmm. Like David Gordon Green, Halloween, whatever year that was, that sort of vibe. Anyway, also, The Leprechaun Returns was directed by one of them dudes that made Psycho Goreman.
Is one of the what dudes who made what?
Is one of the dudes that made Psycho Goreman.
Whoa.
Don't you remember this, Michelle?
I forget everything. You know that. No, Stephen Kaczynski or whatever the fuck his name is.
Yeah, yeah. He directed The Leprechaun Returns. That's why I chose
okay.
it.
Okay. I didn't know that. I'm really hyped for tomorrow now.
Yeah. So those are
Oh,
the two that
it's
we're
like a little
watching.
gift that I didn't know I was getting. Oh man, I love that man. He has 2 movies coming out this year. So it's going to be in my news section of the monthly recap. But I love him. He can do no wrong. Protect him at all costs.
Well, I'm glad we get to. Yeah, this was his follow up to The Void, which I, of
Shit.
course, fucking loved.
Yep, I love Psycho Gorman as much as you love The Void. Psycho
So
Gorman's
anyway,
t-shirt. Huh. Okay.
check that one out tomorrow. After that, next week we have fuck, I don't know. Michelle, do you know?
I do. We have found footage 3D from 2016, which I don't
Right.
believe you've seen, right?
I've never seen it. You know what else I've never seen? I've never seen Leprechaun or Leprechaun Returns. This is one
Oh.
of those franchises that I have managed to avoid because there was a part of me that was like, even I don't want to go there. So I've never seen the original Leprechaun. I'm going to throw that fucker on literally as soon as I'm done editing this episode and getting it thrown up.
Well, shit. I am not. I'm going to go to bed because it is 1:40 a.m. and I am
Hey,
sleepy.
fucking, that's a perfect plan. Say goodnight, Michelle.
Good night, Michelle.
For more horror content, visit WeWatchShutter.com, where you'll find our world-famous, patent-pending Ghoul blog and Squelch files, as well as a schedule of upcoming episodes. Find us on social media at WeWatchShutter on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and I guess Twitter if you're still doing that for whatever reason. You can email us. mail@WeWatchShutter.com is the address. mail@WeWatchShutter.com. You can even call and leave us a voicemail, 701-566-9510. No, really. 701-566-9510. Give it a shot. See what happens. We Watch Shutter is a production of Rat Factory Media.